my name is Megan Edwards of Focus Communications, and this morning we're joined once again by FireFox Gold's chairman, Patrick Highsmith. FireFox Gold is a Finland gold explorer that trades on the Toronto Venture Stock Exchange under the symbol FFOX. Patrick, thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing?
Good morning, Megan. I'm well. How are you?
Great. So, Patrick, to start things off, could you please give our audience an overview of FireFox Gold and your portfolio of projects in Finland?
Of course, always good to refresh folks' memory on FireFox. We are a pure play on Finland gold exploration. Our projects are in the north of Finland and in an area called Lapland, and we're a sizable tenement holder there, one of the largest tenement holders in this gold belt. And on this figure, we just sort of get folks oriented kind of towards the center of the slide. We see the town of Kittilä, its international airport there. The big mine that Agnico Eagle operates in the north there is called the Kittilä Gold Mine. The exciting Ikkari discovery here, which is Rupert Resources' recent success, is shown there. And the gold colored properties are FireFox's tenements, which cover quite a large area, as you can see. Probably the neatest part about working in the north of Finland is the incredible infrastructure to be 100 kilometers north of the Arctic Circle. So we show some of the paved highways crisscrossing the area. We don't need helicopters here. And even though it's typical of the northern latitudes we see in Canada, the infrastructure is better. They're just smaller area and great access there. Geologically speaking, you see a black sawtooth line going from sort of upper left to lower right. That's the Serka shear zone, or the Serka line. And that's a through-going structure. And you'll notice that FireFox and our peer group have a lot of tenements kind of along that structure because that's controlled where a lot of the gold deposits are. And I guess the last thing to say is maybe 3 or 4 junior companies, those shown here on this map, and major companies such as B2Gold and Agnico, ourselves, Rupert Resources, Orion, effectively control this belt. There aren't many greenstone belts in the world like that, Megan. We're such a small group of companies control the block of land like this, and a lot of gold's already been found here, and we believe a lot more is going to be found, and that's why we're here working in Finland.
And earlier this week, the company announced results from your first four holes of the spring 2023 drilling campaign at the Mustajärvi Gold Project. Before we discuss the results, could you briefly highlight the various targets that the company has been advancing over the last few years?
Sure, and I should get started, just get folks oriented about our projects, where they're located here. We're going to be talking about Mustajärvi, which is here kind of in the center of the slide. In terms of square kilometers, it's the smallest of our projects, but it's been yielding some very high-grade results. So that's the area we're going to be talking about with this news release, and we've zoomed in now to the Mustajärvi property. We've highlighted on the slide a paved highway crisscrossing through the property. You can see a power line right away just north of the property. And we've been working here, as you say, Megan, since really 2017, 2018, but things really picked up starting in about 2019, 2020, when we had some significant high-grade drill intercepts. And circled are the primary target areas we've been drilling there. The central zone in the left center of the slide, the northeast target as we go out to the right, and the east target in the upper right, where we're going to be talking about the drilling from this week's results. Just a recap, a little bit of the geology here. You're talking about over 2 kilometers of this Mustajärvi fault zone that runs from lower left to the upper right, a black dashed line there. And that structure has controlled the emplacement of most of the gold we know so far. And there's cross structures and a lot of faulting, and these rocks are quite shattered, and that's the plumbing for how the gold came in. And so we're going to just zoom in on the east target up there to the upper right, and I'm going to show you a view here. The warm colors that you see with the reds and pinks and the greens, those are magnetics. And so a magnetic rock will show up as very warm color. A less magnetic rock will be green or shades of blue even for the least magnetic rocks. And there's a correlation between these magnetics and the gold. And the next slide just shows, it looks complicated at first, but I think I can explain it to folks. This center part of the slide here is that magnetics along the Mustajärvi, so-called Mustajärvi shear zone or Mustajärvi fault zone. And that's a plan view. We're looking down at it. And if you look closely, you can see clusters of black lines there, which represent drilling. We see the central zone, the northeast target, and the east target. And the bottom part of the slide down here is a long section view, a slice through the earth, Megan, and it's relevant to today's results because we put up some more of these purple bubbles that you see there. The red and purple bubbles would be high-grade gold in a drill hole, and the scale on that is shown there. It's about basically the about 300 meters deep is the cut that we're showing this view of the earth. And you can see that most of these drill intercepts are near surface, and we've really expanded the number of hits here in the east target with this latest round of drilling, Megan. And as we go through the details there of that in just a moment, we'll zoom in on that east target. But that should get folks oriented and let you see the area in which we're focusing on the right-hand side of the slide here, the plan view of the east target and the long section view of the east target here.
Now, FireFox has had another round of successful drilling, as reported in this week's news release. Can you walk us through some of the results where you've again intersected high-grade mineralization while also extending the mineralized footprint in the eastern target area?
It was an important result, Megan. We've drilled 8 holes this spring, late winter into spring, and we've gotten the first 4 holes of those results out this week. And on this slide, we've zoomed right into the east target. At the bottom of the slide, there's a 50-meter scale bar. And then the sort of gold shape you see there is the surface projection of the gold that we've drilled here previously using a 2.5 gram per ton intercept. So that's part of the shape. It's not a resource yet. It's an emerging discovery here at Mustajärvi, but we've got quite a few holes in it, as you can see with the black lines. And a couple things to point out where we drilled this time. These structure lines coming through like that kind of give you a feel that that orientation is an important direction for the controlling of the gold mineralization. But we've also shown on this slide another fault ripping through this direction, and we also know that that direction controls gold too, Megan. So that's why you see 2 directions of drill holes on this slide, just to make that clear to people. And the 4 holes we announced this week are highlighted boldly here. 23 MJ001, 23 MJ002, 23 MJ003, and 04. So you'll notice that 3 of those holes are kind of in the heart of the zone here, and the 4th hole, hole 3, is south of the highway, drilled back to the north. Quite a big step out, about 120 meters away from previous drilling down there, Megan. So those are the 4 holes. We were testing some of the gaps in the heart of the zone and also starting to test south and west as we get a little further away from the heart of the system. Now, I'll just point out to people before we go into these numbers is stay tuned, because you'll notice 4 holes over here on the west side of the property. Some of these are quite big step outs, as you can see from the existing mineralization. Those are the 4 holes for which we'll have results in the next week, or hopefully a week or 10 days. So the next 4 holes will be coming, and they're quite bigger step outs, as you can see. But let's get down to this week's results. They were really excellent, Megan. We hit significant gold in all 4 of these holes, quite often very shallow near surface gold. Each of the holes had at least 1 quite high grade assay, 10 grams per ton or better. And I guess the highlights would be hole 1, which is drilled kind of on the west side of this this pod of mineralization we found so far. Hit almost 12 meters, 11.95 meters at 9.6 grams per ton, and that began only 5.4 meters below surface. I'll just also touch on hole 3 down here in the south. Hole 3 came in from the south, and while we went and drilled across a major contact because we really wanted to test these early indications we had down in this area, and we did. We hit more of that mineralization, quite high grade. It hit 2.45 meters at 15.2 grams, a little deeper, about 240 meters down that hole. And hole 2 was maybe the least significant of these results. Hole 2 had about 7.4 meters of 2.4 grams per ton from 60 meters down hole, and it also had a deeper interval of 9 meters of over a gram per ton at about 103 meters down hole. But the coup de grace, the real highlight was hole 4, and you can see hole 4 was collared here on the east side of the resource, drilled through this to the west, drilled through this kind of gap here that we wanted to see if there was gold in there, and then we've also pushed out to the west side there, as you can see. And hole 4 was a zinger. It included a 20.45 meter interval that ran 5.14 grams per ton on average. It started only 12 meters below surface, And that included a high-grade run of over 3 meters at 23.69 grams per ton. A little bit deeper, 54 meters down the hole, we hit 14.8 meters at 6 grams, which also included some higher grade within it. So, and even here you can see, Megan, even going deeper, hole 4 hit some nice hits as you got a little deeper in the hole, over 150 meters deep.
And in the release, the company also noted that hole 004 ended in mineralization. Can you comment on this and perhaps what you've learned about the potential depth extent to this target?
Yeah, it's a great point. We geologists don't like to end a hole in gold, and this one did end in mineralization. I believe that bottom interval was about 0.7 meters. I'm just looking it up to be precise. It was 0.9 meters of 4.2 grams at 175 meters down the hole, Megan. Now, that's interesting for a couple of reasons. If you look closely at the map, and in this area, you can see that the bottom parts of hole 4 had quite a few intercepts well west of the main body of mineralization in the east target. And I can tell you that we really do believe the system is chasing off to the southwest like so. We believe this corridor is reflecting alteration, and that's one of the reasons we've drilled these holes down that corridor. And hole 4 reached into that corridor, including bottoming in that nice grade mineralization I just mentioned. So the significance is a down dip continuation, a down plunge in that southwesterly direction, Megan. And probably it looks from looking at the core logs that the drillers were in a fault zone at that time. The rock was quite broken. And when you're getting a little deeper, sometimes you elect to terminate a hole in a zone like that rather than risk losing the hole. So that's probably why they stopped drilling. But you can see those are some of the westernmost assays we've yet hit with some nice grades in them. So again, not only have we grown this thing to the south, as you can see here in hole 3, going down depth a little bit, we've grown it on the west side, and we really filled in nicely in the heart of it with some high grade near surface mineralization.
And what about next steps on the project? Can you give our listeners an overview of what they can expect from FireFox at Mustajärvi for the remainder of 2023?
Yeah, absolutely. And I should just recap, just to show folks, I've been talking about these thick zones of mineralization and narrow higher grade, and I'm remiss from not showing a couple photos just to remind folks. We're really looking at 2 types of mineralization here. On this slide, I just show a couple of photos. You see the pinkish color on the right-hand photo with a massive pyrite at the bottom where I've written pyrite, and it contains cobalt there. That's one style of mineralization where the rock is sort of pervasively altered with silica and sericite and albite, and the pyrite is sort of disseminated throughout, sometimes massive like that. And that's one form of gold we're finding. And then sometimes the narrow high grade occurs like you see in this upper photo here. And in that, you see a quartz vein with calcite and tourmaline, the black mineral, and pyrite, sometimes visible gold. And those veins can be quite high grade, but they tend to be narrower width. So we're actually chasing 2 styles of mineralization here, Megan. I should have elaborated on that earlier. But so to move on to what's next. There is some news fresh to come. We are going to remember these 4 holes to the west that we have drilled out here to the west side. Those results are still coming in, and they'll be out in the next week or 10 days, hopefully. So that's the next news you're going to see, is we're going to complete the results from the spring drilling program. But we've also commenced a trenching program here. Now, as we've said, this mineralization comes close to surface. There are glacial deposits of sand and gravel that overlie the bedrock. And here you can see, as the excavation begins on the left-hand photo, an excavator cutting through the glacial sediments and getting down to some rusty colored rock there in the left-hand photo that you can see more of in the right-hand photo. And by doing this, we can remove the overburden, get down to the bedrock. Now, when we cut these trenches, we were looking not only for an area where mineralization had been drilled near surface, but we wanted to be over a key structure. And initially, since this is our first effort to trench, we needed to make sure we could reach the mineralization. And so here, we've not even had to knock down any trees. We've got some video and photos where you can see that we're in a clearing here that's just off the highway, which is just south of the area that we trenched here. And so it was easy to get in here and access with very little damage to the environment. So the idea is we didn't have to cut down any trees. We go in, we excavate the trenches. The geologists will be in there mapping and sampling for some period of time, taking rock samples, getting very detailed measurements of that rock. there, and really to get their hands on this deposit for the first time. Megan, these are the first people who've ever walked in to the Mustajärvi gold deposit here at the East Target. So we're quite excited about that, and we will be refilling this trench immediately. So it's easy to get in and get out, and then there'll probably be more trenching going forward as we map these structures and get more understanding of the shallow part of the system where it comes this close to surface, where we can literally trench it, walk right into it, and sample it. And so for the balance of the year, the top line on this calendar is Mustajärvi, and you can see more drill and trench results will be coming here in the third quarter of the year. And then once again, these results are compelling, and we're going to need to drill more later in the year at Mustajärvi. So the drill will be back late summer to early fall. Couple of other properties there with more work. The brand new Katja target may see its first drilling ever in the Q3, Q4 period. Sarvi over by the Ikkari discovery will have base of till sampling underway right through the winter, most likely, Megan. And then at the bottom of the slide, the Nutio license and the surrounding Kolho trend, big area out to the northeast of the Ikkari discovery, we'll see the continuation of a sizable base of till sampling program there. So we've got a busy year, but what I like is some great news here in the middle of the summer, and stay tuned over the next couple of weeks. Should be exciting with both core results and trench sampling results.
Absolutely. And Patrick, to wrap things up, is there anything you'd like to leave with investors on FireFox?
Just recapping, what a jurisdiction, tier 1 jurisdiction, huge land position here, great access, emerging discoveries, and everywhere we look in northern Finland, Megan, it just seems like gold grades are some of the best I've seen in orogenic gold systems around the world. So great jurisdiction and great results, and actively drilling into high-grade near-surface gold at Mustajärvi.
As always, it's a pleasure to have you on the show today, Patrick, and we look forward to speaking with you again soon.
Absolutely. We'll keep you posted. Thank you.